Coming down the front stretch now, we've got a green flag, we've got a race going. Obadia Jacobs on the front row, side by side, all the way back to the back of the pack as they head past the start-finish line and heading down to one, Bob.
You know, this is going to be an interesting as they approach one, because there's a lot of different styles of brakes, a lot of different closing ratios, and we see a little bit of brake smoke as the mid-pack goes through one. Greg, as they come out from behind the trees, what do we got?
As they come out from behind the trees, it is Greg Obadia in the number 66 SM5 car. He is your leader, followed by David Jacobs, and then Matt Jackson. Actually, Jackson has fallen back behind Louis Rodriguez, so it's Jacobs, Obadia, Rodriguez, and then Jackson. In ITA, as I was mentioning, it was Mark Johnston, who's your pole sitter in ITA today, and right beside him was actually Chad DeHaven in an ITR BMW. A lot more straight line, we'll call it straight line handling than the other ITA cars that were all running very similar times to him. And it looked like even on the start that Owen Sheffer, who was your second place car in ITA, got bottled up heading down the front straight.
Yeah, those BMWs have got some great straight line speed and great handling and braking. That's a four-cylinder?
That is a straight six.
Straight six. Okay, there you go. So, and you've got torque with the BMW.
All right, leaders coming out of 10. That's Jacobs, Obadia, and Rodriguez. And it looks like Jackson's stepping out now, going side by side with Rodriguez for third as they cross the start-finish line, and it is Jackson that's got that position going down to one.
Yeah, that's right. And already in ITA, Owen Sheffer has actually stepped out in front of Mark Johnston to take the lead in ITA. And again, that ITA race has less than 50 points separating all the top three ITA cars. As they come out from behind the trees and head down into turn 3, it is still Greg Obadia, your leader, followed by Matt Jackson. There is about a 5-car length gap then back to the third place car of Matt Jackson, and then Louis Rodriguez Jr., who is riding not in a standard SM5 car but an MX5 Pro Cup car without a roof, meaning a lot worse aero, is currently running fourth.
And he picked up a little bit of dust on the outside of turn 3 as he was going into there, so he's using all of the track that he can possibly use.
Now, I'll tell you right now, you want to watch that number 89 car of Don Himes, who was a little late getting on the grid and started 17th. He is all the way up to 8th.
Well, he has a history of doing great things here at Summit Point, so we know that 8th is not even the beginning of where he's going to end.
Moving up 9 spots in one lap is pretty good.
Well, he's got a car with a heck of a lot more straight line speed than I think almost anything else out on the track, and that S2000 is no slouch in the corners either.
All right, leaders coming out of 10, Obadia, Jacobs, Jackson, Rodriguez in that order. It looks like Obadia's got about a 7-car length lead over Jacobs, and then Jacobs, Jackson, and Rodriguez about a car length between each as they head to 1.
Yep, and it looks like the S2000 of Alan Himes has stepped out in front of Owen Sheffer, and Sheffer was trying his mightiest to use the draft to get down the front straight, but Mark Johnston is right on his tail as they go down into turn 1. As they come out of turn 2 into turn 3, Greg Obadia has a 3-car length lead over David Jacobs, another car length and a half back to Matt Jackson, and Louis Rodriguez is right on his tail. About another 6-car lengths back, we have Chad DeHaven, who's currently leading ITR, and then Alan Himes, Owen Sheffer, and Mark Johnston as they head down into the bottom half of the course.
Greg, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
That's right. Himes picked up 2 more spots on that last lap, so he's on the move going to the front.
And we were looking at there were several more cars kicking up dust going into 3. I'm guessing, quite honestly, from my track walk this morning, there's probably some exposed grass there or exposed ground there, because those guys weren't as close to the edge of the track as we thought. So,
no, that's absolutely true. And again, we had the blower truck out there trying to remove some debris right before we went to lunch, and so there may still be some over there.
Well, there was an awful lot of rubber on the track this morning on my track walk, particularly down in the 7, 8, and 9 area. And so they were blowing that off this morning as well. So we're laying a lot of rubber down. There should be some real good grip all day today.
And all right, heading down into turn 1, it is Alan Himes stepping to the inside. Looks like he's attempting to make the move on Chad DeHaven. Thinks better of it heading into turn 1. Coming out of turn 2 now into turn 3, it is still Obadia, then Jacobs. Following Jacobs, it is Matt Jackson and Louis Rodriguez. They have now closed all up to within about a car length each As we head back a little bit further in the pack, it is again Owen Sheffer, the Mark Johnston. Ted York is your third place runner in ITA, followed by Mike Bletsacker.
The sounds of silence.
So,
We're waiting for him to come around 10 here, Bob.
I'm kind of obvious to that, but
Hey, we got a big crew down there in turn 10 up in the stands. They're braving that hot weather out there in the sunshine. Here come your leaders now out of turn 10. Still Obadia, Jacobs, Jackson, Rodriguez in that order.
and then we have Alan Himes and Chad DeHaven, T3 car, and then your ITR leader. Followed by in ITA, it is again Sheffer, then Johnston, Ted York, Bletsacker, and then Brent Simonson. Brent Simonson currently running second in the points in ITA. With this being a 300-point race, he's going to need to, with only 6 laps to go, going to need to make the move and get a little bit closer to our points leader, Owen Sheffer.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the guy that's bringing up the rear of the field, Joel Gambino, as I see here, his sponsor is the Turn 5 crew, and I think he's probably, since he's running at the back of the pack, he's got to stopping down there for some refreshment on the way around the track.
Little refreshment on the way through 5.
All right, next time around, we're going to be at the halfway point. Your leader, Greg Obadia, over David Jacobs, Matt Jackson, Louis Rodriguez, and Don Himes. And Don Himes is doing a phenomenal job, Bob. I mean, starting 17th, he's up to 5th halfway through the race.
And we knew that was going to happen as we talked about last lap, that S2000 is a bad boy. And being halfway to the race, through the race, let's give our first call for Race Group 4, Spec Racer Ford to the grid. Spec Racer Ford, first call to the grid.
All right, leaders out of 10 now. Looks like Obadia is pulling away a little bit, about an 8-car length lead over Jacobs and Jackson. But Jacob and Jackson are drafting down the front stretch. Rodriguez dropped off a little bit more. He's now running 2.5 seconds behind Matt Jackson, who's in 3rd.
Yep, Mike, and as they head down into turn 1, Matt Jackson shaded to the outside for a possible setup for an over-under going into turn 1. Looks like he thought better of it and held station as they went through turn 1. As they come out of turn 2, heading into turn 3, it is still Obadia, then Jacobs and Jackson. Rodriguez has dropped back. There is now about a 25 car length gap between he and Jackson, and Alan Himes has just passed Rodriguez for 4th overall in that Honda S2000.
You know, one of the things I've always said is that the race cars that draft together tend to move up on the leader, and in this case, the 2nd and 3rd place cars picked up darn near 50% of the distance that they had in between our first place car on that
just on the front
run
straight
down the straight. Yeah, so if they can stay together, catch the leader, this is anybody's race at that point.
Well, and these guys, they've been known to do that, too, and have some really exciting finishes here. Here he comes, Obadia, out of turn 10. It looks like he's opened up that 8-car length lead again. Jacobs and Jackson. It looks like Jackson lost the draft just a little bit, about a car, maybe 2 car lengths between them in 2nd and 3rd. And then, of course, Alan Himes now up to 4th as he got by Louis Rodriguez that last lap. DeHaven is 6th, Owen Sheffer 7th, Mark Johnston 8th, Ted York up to 9th, Mike Bletsacker.
Actually, Mike checked that. Got a report that Ted York had actually gone off down at and in the gravel trap at turn 4, and Mike Bletsacker has taken over 3rd place in ITA from Teddy York. The two of them, though, have about 25 car lengths to work their way up to 2nd place runner in ITA, Andrew Johnston.
Alan Himes is picking up speed. I don't know what his last lap time was, but it looks to me, and I'm not as good as Greg is at this, I'm saying a couple of seconds back, but he is picking up footage, if not yardage, as the case may be, here every lap.
Well, he's running very similar lap times to most of our SM5 cars. His best time of the day, however, is actually our fastest lap of the session with a 124 flat.
Which is not too bad.
Not at all. Right now, that last lap, though, he ran a couple tenths slower than Matthew Jackson, who's running 3rd.
Well, here they come through start-finish, or through turn 10 again. Himes again picking up more space on the top 3 cars.
And Obady is pulling out to a bigger lead now over David Jackson. It's up to 1.6 seconds. And Matt Jackson is still a couple car lengths behind Jacobs in third.
Yeah, but as they roll down into turn 1, that gap compresses down to less than half a car length that they were nose to tail as they went into turn 1. As they come out from behind the trees and head down towards turn 3, it is still Obady with a commanding lead. There is now about a 1 car length gap between your second place runner David Jacobs and Matt Jackson in the 55 car currently running third. You have about another 15 car lengths back to Alan Himes in the T3 Honda S2000. As we look a little bit further back again in ITA, looks like Mark Johnston is closing down the gap to Owen Sheffer for that ITA lead. About 2 to 2.5 car lengths now separate them with only 4 laps to go.
That's it, only a half a second separation between those two. Next time by, there'll be 2 laps to go. Greg Obady is your leader, followed by David Jacobs, Matt Jackson, Alan Himes, and Louis Rodriguez, your top 5. Here comes Obady now out of turn 10. About 10 car lengths, so it looks like Jacobs is starting to cut into that lead just a little bit. In fact, as they hit the start-finish line, Jacobs knocked off about 0.3 of a second. Matt Jackson falling back just a little bit.
And Mike, as we look a little further back, as they cross the stripe now with 2 to go, Mark Johnston is closing down that gap to Owen Sheffer. Definitely has superior straight line speed on the front straight here, and he is right on the bumper as they go into turn 1. Now, last race weekend here at Summit Point, we had gotten, we saw almost every single lap that Brent Simonson had definitely more legs than Owen Sheffer's Mazda Miata. My little birdies have told me that Owen spent a little dyno time, and then the last couple of weeks has picked up over 15 horsepower on that car. And when these cars only make a max of about 135, 15 horsepower is a lot.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge. With only a couple of laps left, let's get Race Group 4 Spec Racer Ford to the grid. This is your second call. Race Group 4 Spec Racer Ford to the grid.
All right, here comes your leader, Greg Obady, out of turn 10. Looks like he opened up a little bit, maybe about 15 to 18 car lengths back to David Jacobs in second. Matthew Jackson third. Looks like Jacobs and Jackson are pretty much keeping about the same distance between them, but they're not really gaining on Obady.
And the ITR. Well, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Let me get that list.
I mean the ITA race there, Bob.
I say ITR car. The ITR car of Greg Peluso just went past Louis Rodriguez in his SM5, and I mean just blew past him.
That would have been Chuck DeHaven. Greg Peluso is running 12th. Chuck DeHaven just took over 5th there, Bob, from Rodriguez. I know you don't have the magic box.
Man.
I'm just wanting to get the information correct, Bob. That's all. You know that.
I just called it as I see it.
And as Greg likes to point out, the ITA guys, Owen Sheffer, Mark Johnson, they are running first and second in that division, but Sheffer's starting to pull away a little bit now. 1.2 seconds faster that last lap than Mark Johnson. So with 1 lap to go, looks like that's going to be Sheffer's race to lose.
1 lap flag to go, waving in from the start stand.
And here comes Greg Obady as he crosses the start-finish line, coming up on Joel Gambino. Gambino's going to finish all 10 laps, but I'll tell you, he may get passed by the time they get back around.
Checkers out.
All right, so we have a correction there.
Yep.
We have the checkered flag. All right.
Checkered flag out. The magic box died, and Greg is downstairs looking at the